The stars watched in silence as humanity retreated from the galactic stage, not in defeat, but in wisdom and restraint. After the Nexus Wars that nearly shattered Earth in 2087, humanity made a choice that shocked even themselves. They sealed away their most powerful weapons, the war beasts, massive living ships with capabilities that bordered on the divine. These sentient vessels, born from the marriage of quantum technology and biological engineering, had saved humanity from extinction, but threatened to transform them into the very monsters they had fought. Admiral James Harrington stood at the viewport of Lunar Command, his weathered face reflecting the blue glow of Earth below. At 73, he was among the last living veterans who had piloted a war beast in combat. The memory still burned bright, the feeling of becoming one with a vessel that could bend reality itself. "Admiral," called a voice from behind him. "Long-range sensors have detected something unusual." Harrington turned to face Lieutenant Commander Cho, a young officer whose eyes betrayed a hint of fear. "Define unusual, Commander." "A signal, sir, directed specifically at Earth. The encryption pattern. It's unlike anything in our databases, but the targeting is precise." "Too precise." Harrington's spine stiffened. In the 60 years since the war beasts were decommissioned and placed in orbit around Neptune, humanity had maintained a policy of strict isolation. Their star charts were classified. Their colonization efforts limited to the Sol system. No alien civilization should know Earth's exact position, let alone how to direct a signal specifically to them. "What does it say?" he asked. "That's the strangest part, sir. Once our computers processed the mathematical foundation, it resolved into perfect standard English. It's a distress call." The signal played through Lunar Command speakers. A voice, clearly alien yet understandable, filled the room. "To the guardians of the third planet, we, the Seraphim, call upon the ancient promise. The void has returned. We stand on the precipice of extinction. Remember your oath, guardians. Remember and awaken." Silence fell across the command center. Harrington's hand trembled slightly as he gripped the console. "Guardians," whispered one of the technicians. "Ancient promise. We've never made contact with any civilization calling themselves Seraphim. And yet," Harrington said softly, "they know exactly where to find us." The emergency session of Earth's Defense Council lasted through the night. Representatives from all major territories argued passionately as the mysterious message played on repeat. Some advocated maintaining isolation, the policy that had kept Earth safe for generations. Others insisted that responding to a distress call was a moral imperative, regardless of the bewildering circumstances. Admiral Harrington waited for his turn to speak. When he finally stood, the chamber fell silent. "I propose we awaken the war beasts," he said simply. Gasps echoed across the chamber. The war beasts, Leviathan, Phoenix, Chimera, Kraken, and Behemoth, had been placed in cryo-suspension, their crews in deep sleep alongside them. The decision had been unanimous. Such power should be sealed away until truly needed. "The signal specifically asks us to awaken," Harrington continued. "Whatever these Seraphim are, they know about our most guarded secret. That alone deserves our full attention." The vote was close, but in the end, the decision was made. For the first time in 60 years, humanity would awaken its sleeping giants. Commander Elena Shaw jolted awake, her body convulsing as cryo-fluid drained from her lungs. The revival process was always violent, like being born again through ice and fire. As consciousness returned, memories crashed over her in waves. The last battle, the decision to sleep, the promise that they would only be awakened if the galaxy truly needed them. "Easy, Commander," came a soothing voice. "Neural synchronization stable. Vitals returning to normal parameters." Elena's vision cleared to reveal Dr. Naomi Chen, her ship's medical officer and one of her closest friends. Naomi looked exactly as she had 60 years ago. Cryosleep was kind that way. "The Chimera?" Elena asked, her voice rough from decades of disuse. "Awakening alongside us," Naomi replied. "Ship consciousness achieved harmonization 5 minutes ago. She's eager to see you." Elena felt it then, the gentle pressure at the edges of her mind. The presence that was both separate from her and intimately connected. Chimera, her war beast, not just a ship, but a partner. "Hello, old friend," she thought, and felt the immediate rush of warmth and recognition in return. "Why have we been awakened?" Elena asked, sitting up slowly as her muscles reacclimated to movement. "A distress call," Naomi explained, helping her commander stand. "From a civilization we've apparently never met, who somehow know exactly who we are." Within hours, the 5 war beasts broke from their Neptune orbit, their massive forms gleaming under the distant sun. Each vessel was unique, evolved rather than built, reflecting the personality of its commander and crew. Chimera, under Elena's command, resembled a massive predatory cat in overall shape, its hull a shifting mosaic of midnight blue and silver. As the quantum drives engage, Elena settled into the neural interface chamber, a fluid-filled pod that allowed direct communion with her ship. The sensation of melding with Chimera was both familiar and new, like returning to a childhood home after decades away. "We are one again," came Chimera's thoughts, more feeling than words. "The stars have missed us." "The coordinates are locked," reported Lieutenant Cade Wilson from his station. Though only 27 when they entered cryo-sleep, Cade had been the most gifted navigator in the fleet. Estimated arrival at the source of the distress signal, 36 hours. Elena nodded, feeling the motion translate through her neural connection to ship-wide acknowledgement. "All war beasts, prepare for quantum fold. Formation Delta." The 5 massive vessels moved in perfect synchronization, space bending around them as they vanished into the quantum realm, leaving the safety of Sol behind. The quantum fold ended abruptly, reality reasserting itself with a cascade of sensory information. Elena felt Chimera's alarm before the tactical displays even activated. "Multiple vessels detected," called out Security Chief Maya Rodriguez. 2 distinct signatures. One group appears to be fleeing, the other pursuing. The main view screen showed a breathtaking star system with twin suns, one gold, one pale blue. Orbiting the 3rd planet was a chaotic scene. Sleek crystalline ships, dozens of them, fleeing from what could only be described as a swarm. The pursuing vessels were obsidian, moving with unsettling coordination, like a school of predatory fish. "The fleeing ships are hailing us," Lieutenant Wilson reported. "Signal matches the distress call parameters." "On screen," Elena ordered. The image shifted to reveal a being of startling beauty, humanoid but clearly alien, with opalescent skin and eyes that contained swirling galaxies. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move. The words simply formed in Elena's mind. "The Guardians have returned," the being said, relief evident in its telepathic voice. "I am Seraph Elior of the 3rd Harmony. We have held faith that you would answer our call when the void returned." Elena exchanged glances with her bridge crew before responding. "I am Commander Elena Shaw of Earth's Defense Fleet. We received your distress signal, but we have no record of previous contact with your civilization." The alien's expression shifted to something like sorrow. "The remembering was lost to you then, as our ancient texts foretold. But you have come nonetheless, bringing the great protectors with you." Before Elena could question this cryptic statement, alarms blared across Chimera's bridge. "Enemy vessels altering course," Maya reported tensely. "They're breaking off pursuit of the Seraphim ships and moving to intercept us." The swarm of obsidian ships converged with frightening speed, their movements suggesting less a fleet of individual vessels and more a single organism with many bodies. "We're being hailed by the lead vessel," Wilson said. The view screen changed to show absolute darkness, then slowly resolved into a form that sent chills through Elena's spine. The being had no definable shape, just a writhing mass of shadow with points of void-like emptiness where eyes might be. "New vessels," came a voice that seemed to echo from everywhere at once. Your configuration is unknown to the collective. You will be analyzed and absorbed. Resistance is inefficient. The transmission cut abruptly. On the tactical display, the swarm of obsidian ships arranged themselves into attack formation. All war beasts, combat stance, Alina ordered, feeling Chimera's eagerness ripple through her consciousness. Defensive perimeter around the Seraphim vessels. As the war beasts moved to protect the crystalline ships, Alina opened a channel to the Seraphim leader. Seraph Elior, what exactly are we facing? They call themselves the Void Collective. Elior responded, fear evident in the telepathic voice. A hive mind species that conquers by absorption. They consume worlds, technologies, entire civilizations, incorporating them into their collective consciousness. They have destroyed 3 of our worlds already. We are all that remains. Elena processed this information quickly. And why did you call us guardians? How do you know about Earth? The Seraphim's galaxy eyes seemed to look through her rather than at her. Because long ago, before your species retreated from the stars, you made a promise to the younger races that should darkness ever threaten to consume the light, the guardians and their beast companions would return. Before Elena could demand more answers, the Void Collective launched their attack. Beams of absolute darkness, weaponized void energy, lanced toward the human ships. Shields at maximum. Elena called out, bracing for impact as the first salvos struck Chimera's quantum barriers. The war beasts had awakened, and the galaxy was about to remember why humanity had chosen to lock them away. The void beams struck Chimera's shields and simply vanished. Not deflected, not absorbed, they ceased to exist upon contact. Elena felt the ship's satisfaction ripple through their neural connection. Shields holding at 100%, reported Chief Engineer Raj Patel, a note of surprise in his voice despite his decades of experience with war beast technology. The enemy weapons appear to be based on some form of negative energy. Our quantum barriers are converting it directly into shield reinforcement. On the tactical display, the other war beasts reported similar results. Phoenix, under Admiral Harrington's command, actually showed a shield strength increase of 3% after the initial barrage. The Void Collective ships paused their assault, seemingly reassessing their strategy. The momentary lull gave Elena the opportunity she needed. All war beasts maintain defensive formation, she ordered, but prepare offensive systems for demonstration protocol only. I want to show them what they're dealing with without unnecessary destruction. Through her neural link, Elena felt Chimera's eager response, like a predator finally unleashed after too long in captivity. The massive vessel's weapon systems began to hum with building energy, not yet firing but ready. Commander, Lieutenant Wilson called out, the Void Collective is launching what appear to be boarding craft. Hundreds of them, approaching in swarm patterns. Elena's mind raced through tactical options, Chimera's consciousness amplifying her strategic thinking. Together, they reached a decision. Activate the veil, she commanded. Security Chief Maya Rodriguez's fingers danced across her console. Veil deploying, Commander. Outside, the space around Chimera shimmered as though reality itself was being gently folded. The approaching swarm of void boarding vessels suddenly seemed confused, their perfect coordination faltering. Many passed harmlessly through the space where Chimera appeared to be, while others collided with each other in their confusion. What just happened? Asked Dr. Chen, who had joined them on the bridge. Elena allowed herself a small smile. The veil doesn't make us invisible. It makes us temporally uncertain. To their sensors, we exist in multiple possible moments simultaneously. On the tactical display, the other war beasts had activated similar defensive measures. Leviathan generated a gravity lens that curved space around it, making incoming fire loop back toward its source. Behemoth split into 3 autonomous sections that moved in perfect coordination, creating an impenetrable defensive triangle around the most vulnerable Seraphim vessels. Kraken released swarms of autonomous microdrones that attached to enemy ships, not to destroy but to confuse their navigation systems. But it was Phoenix, the flagship under Admiral Harrington, that made the most dramatic move. The massive war vessel's hull began to glow with increasing intensity until it erupted in what appeared to be actual flame, an impossible phenomenon in the vacuum of space. The Phoenix is initiating the rebirth protocol, Elena explained to her crew. They're making a statement. What followed was not so much an attack as a demonstration. The fiery aura surrounding Phoenix expanded outward in a controlled wave, washing over the nearest void vessels. Where it passed, the obsidian ships didn't explode or break apart. They simply reverted to their component materials, the artificial intelligence that bound them dissolving as though it had never been. The remaining void ships immediately pulled back, regrouping at a safer distance. They're hailing us again, Wilson reported. The view screen once more showed the amorphous shadow being, but now its darkness seemed less absolute, edges of its form wavering with what Elena recognized as uncertainty. Your vessels possess technologies unknown to the collective, the shadowy entity stated. Integration is desirable. Surrender your ships and join our consciousness. Your uniqueness will be preserved within the whole. Elena leaned forward in her neural interface chamber. That's not going to happen. Withdraw your forces from this system immediately, or the next demonstration won't be so gentle. The void-like eyes seemed to narrow. The collective has consumed 11 civilizations. We have incorporated their knowledge, their technologies, their very essence. You cannot. Final warning. Elena interrupted, her voice calm but unyielding. The next time we fire, we won't be making a point. We'll be ending this conflict. To emphasize her words, all 5 war beasts simultaneously activated their primary weapon arrays. Chimera's hull shifted as specialized quantum emitters emerged, glowing with energy that bent light around them. The sight was enough to make the void entity visibly recoil. You have 1 hour to collect your forces and leave this system, Elena continued. After that, we will consider any remaining void collective vessels as hostile combatants and respond accordingly. The transmission cut abruptly. On the tactical display, the void ships began slowly retreating, moving back toward the system's outer boundary. Will they actually leave? Asked Dr. Chen. For now, Elena replied, feeling Chimera's agreement in her mind. But this isn't over. We've just announced humanity's presence to a hostile power that spans multiple star systems. After confirming the Void Collective's retreat, Elena ordered Chimera to dock with the Seraphim command vessel. As ranking officer of the War Beast Fleet with Admiral Harrington overseeing from Phoenix, she would lead the first formal contact with these mysterious aliens who somehow knew of humanity's existence. The docking procedure completed with surprising ease. The Seraphim ship's systems perfectly compatible with Chimera's interface protocols, as though designed for exactly this purpose. Elena led a small delegation including Dr. Chen, Lieutenant Wilson, and Security Chief Rodriguez through the airlock and into the crystalline vessel. The interior was breathtaking. Corridors of translucent material that seemed to capture and release light in gentle pulses, creating an atmosphere of serene beauty. Seraph Elior awaited them in what appeared to be a council chamber, accompanied by several of its kind. Up close, the aliens were even more striking, their opalescent skin shifting with colors that seemed to reflect their emotions, their galaxy eyes containing swirling stars that moved in complex patterns. Commander Shaw, Elior greeted telepathically, performing a graceful gesture that Elena's universal translator interpreted as profound respect. The debt we owe cannot be measured. The Void Collective has consumed 3 of our worlds. Without your arrival, our civilization would have ended today. Elena nodded acknowledgement but remained focused. Seraph Elior, you called us guardians. You knew to send a distress signal directly to Earth. You even knew about the war beasts. How is this possible when our records show no previous contact with your species? The Seraphim exchanged glances, their skin colors shifting to a deep blue. Finally, Elior gestured toward the chamber center, where a pedestal rose from the floor. Above it appeared a holographic display showing a star map, but not of the current galaxy. It depicted Earth's solar system as it had appeared thousands of years in the past. "The connection between our peoples is ancient," Elior explained. "Long before your species achieved interstellar travel in your current cycle, humans visited our worlds. They came in vessels much like your war beasts, though perhaps less advanced than your current ones." Elena felt her crew's shock mirroring her own. "That's impossible. Humanity only developed war beast technology during the Nexus Wars, less than a century ago." Elior's skin rippled with what might have been gentle amusement. "Your species has risen and fallen many times, Commander Shaw. The cycle of advancement, conflict, and retreat has repeated itself throughout your history. What you call the war beasts are not new creations. They are rediscoveries." The hologram shifted to show ancient cave paintings that unmistakably depicted massive vessels resembling the war beasts, with human figures standing alongside beings that could only be seraphim ancestors. "During your last great expansion," Elior continued, "humans helped establish a network of peaceful civilizations, including our own. When darkness threatened, an earlier manifestation of what you now face as the Void Collective, your ancestors created the Guardian Protocol. They used the war beasts to push back the darkness, then left warnings and promises throughout the galaxy before returning to Earth and forgetting. Dr. Chen asked incredulously, "How does an entire species forget interstellar travel?" Another seraphim stepped forward, its skin a deep purple. "The choice was deliberate. Your ancestors feared what they were becoming, feared that the power of the war beasts would transform humanity into conquerors rather than guardians. They returned to Earth, sealed away their knowledge, and chose to begin again." Elena's mind reeled with the implications. The neural connection with Chimera suddenly felt heavier, more significant. She wasn't just commanding an advanced vessel. She was part of a legacy that stretched back through countless forgotten cycles of human history. "The Void Collective will return," she said finally, focusing on the immediate threat. "They've retreated, but they'll be back with greater numbers." Elior nodded. "They are a patient enemy. They will gather their full strength before challenging you again. But now that the Guardians have returned, other civilizations will rally. The ancient alliance can be reborn." As if on cue, Lieutenant Wilson's communicator chimed. "Commander," he reported after checking the message, "we're detecting new signals. Dozens of them. From different systems, all using variations of the same encryption pattern as the original Seraphim distress call." "They're answering," Elior said, galaxy eyes gleaming with hope. "When word spreads that the war beasts have awakened, those who remember the old promises will call for aid, and those who serve the void will know fear." 3 days later, representatives from 17 different spacefaring civilizations had gathered on the Seraphim homeworld. Elena stood alongside Admiral Harrington on a balcony overlooking the crystalline city, watching ships from across the galaxy arrive in a steady stream. "We've opened a door that can't be closed," Elena observed quietly. Harrington nodded, his weathered face solemn. "Humanity retreated from the stars because we feared what we might become. Now we find that we've been playing this game for longer than we can remember, and always making the same choice in the end." Elena added, "To seal away our power and forget. Perhaps this time will be different," Harrington mused. "Now that we know our own pattern, maybe we can break it." Below them, the gathered representatives had begun formalizing what was being called the Guardian Accord, a mutual defense pact with humanity's war beasts as its foundation. Earth would protect the allied worlds, while they would provide resources and knowledge that humanity had lost during its cycles of forgetting. Elena felt Chimera's consciousness brush against her mind, even across the distance to orbit where the massive vessel waited. There was anticipation there, but also caution. The war beast, it seemed, remembered more than humanity did. "The void isn't the only threat out there," Elena said suddenly, voicing a thought that had been forming since their first encounter with the collective. "Something made our ancestors retreat to Earth multiple times. something they feared more than what they might become. Harrington's eyes met hers, understanding dawning. "You think the Void Collective is just the beginning." "I think," Elena replied slowly, "that we've been awakened for a reason that goes beyond this immediate threat." The timing feels deliberate. As if confirming her suspicion, a commotion erupted in the council chamber below. A new ship had arrived, unlike any seen before. Not seraphim, not human, not void. Its design was completely alien, its purpose unknown. "Commander," came Lieutenant Wilson's urgent voice over the communicator. "All war beasts are detecting an anomaly at the system's edge. Something's coming through, something big." Elena exchanged a glance with Harrington. The Admiral nodded grimly. "Send the alert. All war beasts to battle stations." As they hurried toward the transport that would return them to their ships, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that the distress call that had awakened humanity's sleeping giants had been just the first note in a much longer and more complex symphony. The war beasts were awake, and the galaxy was changing. Humanity had been given another chance to fulfill their role as guardians, perhaps their last before the cycle would begin again. This time, Elena resolved, they would remember. This time, they would not retreat. This time, they would face whatever lurked beyond the stars with open eyes. And the war beasts would lead the way.